Hi. Barnkanalen is the name of the kids channel and the web publishing platform here at SVT, the Swedish public service TV provider. On our main site, barnkanalen.se, we've had an interactive coloring book for a few years. Our wonderful editors fill this book with pictures of characters from our shows, and the kids can then go into our various sites and color these pictures. This has become really popular among the kids, and so in May of 2013 I and my team were tasked with enhancing the functionality of the interactive coloring book. So here we have a coloring book for Labyrinth, which is one of our most popular shows. And up here you can choose different pictures to color. This one, for example, is of Daedalus, the main character in the show. And I'll give Daedalus a colorful jacket here with like purple on the outside maybe, and some light green on the shirt there, and of course a yellow background. We also have these stamps, which are sort of items you can place on the screen and personalize your display a bit. Some of those there. There are lots of robots in this show, that's why the items are what they are. Over here we have some tools. The magic wand, which displays a random color, and the coloring or the eraser thing, which colors a thing white, removes the color. And we have the little camera here, which enables you to save your picture to your picture gallery. And then we have the play button, which sort of plays a sound and animates all the things. So that's for when you're finished and want a little reward for your hard work. So this is the basic concept for the coloring book as it was before this project. Based on interviews with kids and editors, and also some click tracking with the Crazy Egg service, it was decided that 3 enhancements were going to be made to the coloring book. The first one is the ability for the coloring book in itself to contain a form where kids can send in their created picture to the editors here at SVT. The other addition was attachments, we call them, which are sort of, if a picture is of a bus, then an attachment might be an assortment of tires. And so the kids can choose among different styles of tires to put on their bus picture.
My Dream Surfboard is pretty powerful. You can add a lot of attachments to it, like a grenade launcher attachment.
In order to enable this even more interactive coloring book for the editors, it was also decided that an admin interface would be created. Before the project, the editors had manually edited JSON files and uploaded the different items and resources that the color book was made up of into a folder structure. Now we wanted to build a tool that enabled them to build a coloring book quicker and more intuitively. It's quite unusual, but also very cool to have just 5 people be your target audience. But that was actually the case in this project. The editors are 5, and we also have the developer Stefan, who was building the admin interface and whom I also needed to communicate this to. So I used the method of paper prototyping. And so I created a basic prototype, and then I asked each of the editors to create a coloring book in it. After each session, I refined the paper mockup, and I'll soon show you one of the later prototypes, the one I used to communicate the design to Stefan, the developer. I chose a dozen or so overarching interaction design patterns for the admin interface. One of the most foundational ones was that I wanted the interface to be as close as possible to the published coloring books. That way it will become sort of what you see is what you get for the editors and not be as abstract as other editing tools can be. However, in order to make the admin interface, which has a lot more functionality than the published book, in order to enable that to still function, I needed a way to expand and show more functionality. And so I chose to use overlays or in-page pop-ups, whatever one might call them. They are boxes basically that show up on top of the basic interface. And they have the problem of requiring 2 more clicks for each interaction. You have to open the overlay and you have to close it. And those are 2 clicks that are not needed in other patterns. But like I said, it enables a very natural interface. What you see is what you get. And it also enables the widget to focus, the function to focus, to get focus. So this is a basic pop-up. It has a frame. It will also have it had a background so that the rest of the interface was faded out slightly. And it has a finished button in the top right corner. And I chose to have it there rather than at the bottom, which would often be more natural, because some of these overlays will become quite big, and the bottom of the overlay might actually be outside of the scrolling area. And so I wanted the finished button to be clearly visible and close at hand for the editor. 2 other patterns that are very important is that there is an area in the interface where error messages and instructions are displayed, and there's only ever one at the maximum such error or message displayed there at a time. The interface, of course, needs to enable all 3 basic editing states: create, edit, and delete. And this goes for all levels of items. I'll show you later in the interface that there are several layers of interactions. Other basic patterns are that files can be dragged from the desktop onto the interface, so you don't have to use the file system to find files. Items in the interface can also be dragged and dropped to be reordered, and there is a clear call to action for replacing items. So if there is an item that can be replaced, there is a clear call to action that explains that it can be replaced. Colors are very important in this product, and so I want to enable 2 ways of defining colors. One is to paste the hex code, and the other one is to choose a color from a natural color palette. Finally, the interface is based on the standard visual look and widgets from the Twitter Bootstrap library. This goes for all the admin interfaces that Barnkanalen creates, except for the main admin tool, which is any Content Studio and is built in Java. But all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript interfaces are based on Twitter Bootstrap. When the editors open the new interface, it contains an empty state. The top level items are to open an existing coloring book or to create a new coloring book, actually in that order. And a new coloring book is what they'll get, like I said, when they open the tool. The coloring book has a few like general options. It's where you enter the name and also some data for statistics. There is a toggle to show standard settings, and that is actually in its active state when opening the tool. Then you have the actions to preview the coloring book and to save it as a zip for upload to the production server. The actual coloring book, just like the one in production, like the one that the kids use, have this list of images, which is currently empty. And then these general settings, like I said, this here general settings button is active, and these are the general settings. So the base settings for any coloring book are the colors, the stamps, and these tools. These can be customized for each picture, but if no individual changes are made, these standard ones are what the kids see and will be able to select among. This enables the editors to set most things once and only change things that are needed, rather than set up all the 19 colors and 8 stamps each time. And the colors are set by clicking on one of these icons, and then one of these overlays will appear, and you'll be able to paste the hex code here from like Photoshop or Illustrator or such, or you have a natural color palette here where you can just click and select the color, and then click done when you are done, and the color of that button will then be the color that you added. The tools here on the general screen and also on the individual image screens are the one for saving one's picture, for sending in the picture to the editors, and this play button where you can choose as an editor to add a custom song to the play screen there. But when you click this send in button, an overlay will appear, and you'll be able to choose whether images can be sent in or not. Now it's set to no as standard, but we will click yes, and then more options will appear. So first of all, the email address that the image is sent to, this is not displayed to the kids, but used by the system to actually send the pictures from the coloring book. Then we have the public heading for the send in screen that the kids see, and then the editors can choose various fields to include in this little form, whether they want to include a field for the name of the kid, and then the parents will always have to be able to be contacted, and so the editors can choose if they want the phone number or the email address of the parent. Sometimes it's good to have their own field for various things, for like a competition or so, and so they can enable that by entering a heading for the field, and then also basically a heading for the field, and then it'll show up as a text input in the kids interface. They can also choose what it says on the button that the kids have to press in order to actually send in the picture. And as you see, there is like standard text in that, which is sort of send in the picture. There's also terms and conditions, which is also a standard text created by the lawyers here at SVT, and that can be edited to some degree by the editors if they want to. There are also fields down here for the editors to add information to the thank you screen that appears after the kid has clicked the send in button. But there are no text on this form for error messages. The error messages rather are set once by the editors and me in cooperation, and then not editable per coloring book. So when they've filled this out, they can click done, and then this little icon, which was inactive, goes on to the active state there. Finally, I'll show you how to create a picture actually in here. So what you do is that you click the plus sign and a new image appears there, and also the interface for the new image here. And since we set up the form earlier, that is active. So from here you can simply drag and drop an scalable vector graphics image onto this area from your desktop, and it'll show up there with this happy face. And if you want to replace it, you drag and drop another SVG file onto the area and it'll be replaced. You can also drag a preview image into this area, and that will also update this picture, just like in the production, in what the kids see. You can also, of course, add these accessories and change the form settings. You can change the colors and the stamps for this individual picture if you want to. If you have more than one picture, let's say you create one with a sad face, but you also want the sad face to be like in the beginning, then you can simply drag and drop that and it'll rearrange like that, of course. There is also this area, which I'm not going to be displaying, but the area for messages and instructions, which actually overlays on top of these tools. So now you've seen the basic prototype that I used to communicate and develop the design of the admin interface. And I used it alongside editors, the developer, and also other stakeholders. Of course, the finished interface didn't end up exactly as in the prototype. It never does. That's not how we work here. We work in an agile way. But it was a very good foundation for the work.